When you open VexCode V5 Pro for the first time, you will see this starting home page. It looks pretty bland. You can see it shows my recent documents, and then we have File, Edit, and Tools buttons. Now, to start a project for the first time, click File, and then New. It'll prompt you to give a name, and then you can click Create, but I already created one earlier, so I'm going to click on it. Now, this is the basic document. You can see that there's a lot of green text and a few other lines of text. What the green text is its notes that the computer created. You can do the same thing by typing 2 slashes. You see now that the text has turned green, and you can write anything, and this will not change the code. Down here is your main section. This is where you'd write actual code which will make the robot do things. So for example, you could say write wheel dot spin forward, and this is where you'd write that. But if you're wanting to compete, this is not how you can write your code. Instead, you have to use something called the competition template. So click File, Open Examples, and then scroll down to the competition template. Click Next, give it a name, click Create, and here we have our new competition template document. You can see that it's much longer, we see in the corner, and it's a lot of green text. So let's go through this. We have the basic starting text just like we saw last time, showing that it's a competition template right here, and then we see the pre-autonomous. The pre-autonomous functions are anything that the robot has to do before the autonomous period starts, specifically to get the robot in the right position. Next, we see the autonomous task. This is where you'd write your code for those 15 seconds of autonomous in the beginning of a competition. So you can see the autonomous void, and this is where you'd put your autonomous code. Next, we have the user control task. This is the most important part. It's where you will be spending a lot of time. We can see we have the user control void, and then this while one loop. It is important to point out that the voids and any loops are defined by these 2 curly brackets. The first curly bracket is where it starts, and the second one is where it ends. So anything within these curly brackets is considered part of the user control code. And then anything within these 2 curly brackets is considered part of this while one loop. What this while one loop does is it makes anything within here repeat infinitely. At the bottom, we see we have this main function, and this is basically code that the computer puts in that you don't need to change, but it's just making sure that all the functions work correctly. So now that we have our document, we have to start adding motors and controllers. So we're going to click the robot configuration button and then add a device. Our first motor is in port 7, and it is our left wheel, and it is a green motor. Next, our second motor is in port 4, and it is our right wheel. Now, on our robot, our motors are all in between the wheels, and they're facing different directions, meaning that one motor has to be reversed. Because if both motors were spinning clockwise, the robot wouldn't go forward or backwards, but it would just go in a circle. By reversing one, the wheels will both go in the right direction. Now, I'm going to add the motor for our arm, which is in port 11. And this is a red motor, which means that it has more torque, and it spins slower. Now, we're going to add our final motor, which is the claw. This is also a green motor. And we hit done. The last thing we need here is a controller. Now, it says that you can select buttons to set actions, and you can, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to code them in, and that way we can have a lot more control over what the controller makes the robot do. So you don't have to do anything on this screen, just click done, and there we go. And you can see that at the top of our document here, our new motors and our new controller have shown up. And this is really helpful if you're trying to remember what you named that motor or what port it's in. You can just scroll back up here and you can see what you put. Now our document is completely ready, and in the next video we'll start putting some code in.